Thank you all for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Brandt. I am Carl's youngest son, and we are here obviously to celebrate a life of a person who connected with a lot of people in this world. And we can obviously tell by the turnout that we have here today. I did get a lot of notes with a lot of people telling me they couldn't make it. So imagine that. There's a lot of people that couldn't make it, and there's still this many people here. So we are obviously here to celebrate my father, Carl. Carl Brandt was an amazing person and touched a lot of lives. I do want to set a bit of a tone for this memorial. This is a celebration. We want to keep this as a celebration and grounded in friendships, because that is what my dad wanted. That is who my dad was. He was grounded in friendships. He was always the one to be able to somehow connect with everybody in this world. So that's why we're doing this here today. In the style that we're doing it is to honor him and just continue to create those memories with loved ones and family and friends. So with our goal of bringing everybody together to simply talk to one another, we invite you all to meet somebody new, catch up with an old friend. Thank you to Kathy Kinane for bringing name tags, because she knew that this was going to be a big event. So as a theme to this, just want to remind everybody, just in life and in general, just be kind to one another, and channel Carl in that of making those friendships, making those connections, and being kind to one another. With that, how this is going to work is we are going to have a couple of speakers. I'm kind of going to be the MC of this event, and it's going to be relatively brief so that we have time to connect and keep everybody connected in this wonderful world that we live in. So, our first speaker is going to be my older brother, Noah. It's time to walk out, Noah. For those of you who don't know, my dad and our mom had two children, and that is the two people standing in front of me today.
Thank you for the introduction, brother. Yep. So I'm Noah, Carl's oldest son. I'm not going to do it off the cuff. I wrote some words. So I imagine you all know Carl through a certain lens or context. I'm planning on sharing things from my perspective as his kid through the speech. As a dad, he was very consistent. Kind, calm, caring, and very present during our trip. I didn't practice saying this out loud, so bear with me for a moment. He was kind, calm, caring, and very present during our childhood. From helping with our homework and school projects to helping organize our elementary school's fun runs and Olympic track and field days, he truly embraced being a dad and supported Peter and I in our academic endeavors from a very young age. Our dad and mom also supported us in our athletic pursuits early on as well. I'm very grateful for this, as sports were something that personally gave me confidence as a child and led to some of my closest friendships that remain strong to this day. I remember Dad bringing his old wooden tennis racket out from his college days to hit balls with me the day before my first tennis summer camp. I remember him taking me to the driving range and putting alongside me on the practice green. I remember him and our mom bouncing around the county on Saturdays to get Peter and myself to our soccer games. I remember feeling like I made them proud, and I don't remember a single complaint from them, even though it was a significant time burden for them to support us through our sports as kids. Of course, Blue and Shoes was a significant presence in our life growing up. I have memories of Christmas white elephant parties with employees and barbecues at the park where epic croquet games were played, like the biggest croquet games ever, where you had to go across a creek, and it was really fun as a kid. But the thing I always remember as a young kid is that these gatherings seemed like they were good friends coming together, and it wasn't a stuffy, strongly encouraged, camaraderie-building, off-hours corporate event. My dad really respected and valued his employees / coworkers, and I think this is what helped set him apart during his 35-plus year career with Shoes. His goal was never to make the most money, rather was to support the running community and do his best to have fun doing it with the many, as he put it, good people who it's composed of, many of you here today. As I grew older, I was happy to jump in to help him and make a couple bucks along the way. I remember early mornings unloading the U-Haul truck full of shoes for the expo, and extra early mornings setting up the mile markers for the Rock and Roll Marathon with my dad. It was during these times that I started to recognize just how universally recognized he was in the running world. It seemed like he knew everyone. From the shoe company reps to the Olympic medalists to the guy setting out cones for the road closures of the race. Later, when I started running cross country and track in high school, I realized he knew many of the coaches, including my own coach, which he knew even before I was born. The thing was, he treated everyone similarly with genuine respect and passion for what they all shared. The joy of running in the community it creates. I always found it funny that my dad would tell my brother and I about someone always using their first and last name. Why the last name? As I got older, I realized that he simply knew too many people to keep it at a first name basis. Our dad was not a complicated man when it came to worldly possessions, which made him a difficult man to find a gift for. He was content with keeping things simple and never had an answer to a question like, what do you want for your birthday? What mattered most to him was spending time with people that he enjoyed the company of. He was the kind of guy that could eat a bean and cheese burrito or a peanut butter honey banana sandwich every meal for a month and not be worried about what he might be missing out on. He was sincerely content on simply having enough. As a result, he ended up with a lot of t-shirts from our colleges and the parks we visited, and he wore them proudly. Favorite pastime of my dad was showing up exceedingly early to events. There are punctual people, and there was my dad. 15 minutes early would have him mildly stressed, and an hour early was not uncommon. He would often bring a book and read while waiting, or strike up a conversation with someone in his vicinity. Our dad was a natural conversationalist, the kind of guy who would stop and chat with a neighbor on his morning walk for 20 minutes about any and all things. Didn't shy away from sharing his opinion or ideas, but always in a manner that was honest, genuine, and open to conversation and a different perspective. I think these conversations are something he greatly valued, and I thank you all in this room for being part of those chats. The finality of this celebration in preparing this speech has hit me these last few days. Our dad was very public with his cancer journey. As many of you likely knew if you're Facebook friends with him, many Facebook posts about his treatments and his attitude toward it all. He remained remarkably composed and positive throughout his life with cancer and did not let it define him. We knew what it would ultimately lead to, but when the time came, it still hurt. I want to make sure I take a moment to talk about our late mom, Sue, and acknowledge the relationships our parents had. Their love for each other was very special and palpable throughout our life. Our mom was a great example for Carl, embracing each day with a smile and recognition of all the good in her life. They enjoyed big trips together to Europe, and they enjoyed lunch dates to their favorite local spot in Mesa. I like to think of them reunited now, watching over us all. I want to take a moment to give a broad thank you to all the people who supported our dad over the past few years. Peter and I are very grateful for the village that helped our dad while we were away, with rights to appointments, household maintenance and organizing, and the ever-present love that surrounded him. Personally, I want to thank Peter and Amy for helping organize the majority of this celebration. I also want to say thank you to my wife, Marie, for your love and support over these past several challenging months. Lastly, I just want to say thank you all again for celebrating our dad, Carl Brandt, here today. Your presence in his life helped shape who he was, and we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. No, I just want to say thank you to you as well. After talking to a lot of people in this room, our dad was really proud of both you and I and just the relationship that we have. So just really happy that we're in each other's lives. With that, we are going to be bringing up our next speaker, my Uncle Brian and Auntie Karen, which are right here. Uncle Brian is my mom's brother, to put it in perspective, and they're going to say a couple of words.
Good afternoon. As Peter said, I'm Brian Schroeder. This is my wife Karen, Carl's brother-in-law. I want to say a few things about what we did as a family throughout the years. Somehow we were able to crack the code and get reservations to camp in Yosemite Valley every year for several years. My brother-in-law Gil, my sister Kathy, the Martin for kids, of course the Brandts. As you can tell, Carl loved Yosemite. Sue also loved Yosemite. My folks love Yosemite. Boy, there's nothing not to love. But a lot of those trips were involved hiking. We would hike to Nevada Falls, Verona Falls, Yosemite Falls. Of course, all the hikes around the valley. One season, Carl, Peter, Noah, Karen, and myself, we made it to Half Dome, which was an all-day event. It started dark. Carl was a big encouragement to Karen to make it up to the top. We ascended the cables, which was bucket list stuff to get to the top. We got to the top, enjoyed the view, had a snack, and scurried off the mountain or the top when we saw lightning in the distance, which made it a challenge going down the cables, but that was an exceptional trip. Carl never wore hiking boots. He always had the latest pair of running shoes, different styles, colors, from all the different manufacturers, Nike, New Balance, I don't know them all, but he always... Asics.
Do we miss anybody?
Yes.
We don't want to leave anybody out.
Yes.
Anyone else want to be interested?
But that turned out to be, I turned myself into wearing running shoes for hiking myself, so that was awesome. I remember a picture that Carl took of my sister Sue at Mirror Lake, sitting on a rock with Half Dome in the background and Half Dome reflecting off the lake. It's in my head. It's just a beautiful picture of Sue. Recently, the last several years, Carl and I attended several San Diego State Aztec basketball games. We got to see a lot of good teams, a lot of victories. I thoroughly enjoyed that time with Carl, catching up with him, getting updates on what the boys are up to. The last game we went to last year, I picked him up and he brings out this Manzanita cane. And I go, which looked like a weapon or club. I go, Carl, you think they're going to let you into the arena with that? And he goes, they better. So he made it down with a sore hip to our seats in the row 11, which is quite the achievement, even if you're not hurting. That's a very steep arena. And on the way out, he told me, I used to do stairs around this whole Aztec Bowl, and I go, my legs are burning already. So, like I said, I enjoyed those outings with Carl. The conversation, his insight, his humor, just catching up with him 4 or 5 times during the season at the games. It was amazing. I'll miss that very much. Carl, we'll miss you. And then one thing, all the guys here get PSA tested.
Hi, I'm Karen. Can you guys hear me? Is it okay? Okay. I'm one of Carl's sister-in-laws, married to Brian. And Brian is brother, I think. Something like his sister, sorry about that. Okay. One of the things, when I think of Carl, there's a word that I think of. And that's the word community. And I first kind of learned after I was newly married to Brian. We've been married, he's honey bear, no kids, but we've married, is it 36 years? So when I did used to work out in the 90s and go to the gym, eventually, I'd probably talk to somebody about shoes. And I would say, oh yeah, my brother-in-law Carl, he owns Move-In Shoes, or co-owns Move-In Shoes. And almost to a person, everyone would say, oh yeah, I bought shoes from that store. And that's when I kind of started to get a little inkling about what a presence Carl is. And then I remember one time, it was in the last few years, it was after Sue had passed, and me and Brian and Carl, one of our cousins, Jeannie, went to the zoo. And my gosh, I think he knew at least 2 people at the zoo. And we're both natives, we're both 65, and I've never run into anybody at the zoo that I knew. But it's like 2 people, like wow, like Carl kind of knows a lot of people. And then especially after Carl became sick in the last 2 years, just the global community that is Carl became so evident. Everything from the cousins, there were some good cooks and like the cook, and one of our cousins, Robert's a master chef, and he's got like 10 grills and all that, and he would bring food to Carl. Or I don't know if there's any book club people here. Carl was in a book club. And the friends of Noah and Pete, their families and friends would come and help out Carl and taking him to appointments and things like that. And it just became more and more and more. And then, of course, the running community, which is a global presence. And I know just the outpouring of support. I mean, for all of you, all y'all, I'm from here, but I say all y'all are present and have witnessed the magnificence that is Carl, and what a massive impact globally he's had on the world, and what a kind, loving person he was. Always, always, always. And Pete and Noah, probably the last 2 years especially, every time I would talk to your dad on the phone, every time he would be sure, and he would say how proud he is of you and Pete as human beings, because that's how Carl, that's how he talked, how proud he is of you boys and how you're thriving and happy. And that is just truly a gift from God, and I know he is so damn proud of you. And I know that he and Sue are up here right now, and they're just looking down going, kudos boys, way to go, you guys did good, you did good.
Thank you, Annie, Karen, and Uncle Brian. Your friendship over the last couple of years to my dad, he sounds like he talked to you guys about us, and he talked to us about you. So, thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Herb. Where's Herb? Oh yeah, Herb. Turn those up a little bit. Herb is a very, very close friend of my father's. They knew each other from the Wisconsin days. And Herb is up here not just to talk from his behalf, but also to read a statement from my Uncle Dale, Carl's brother. Carl's brother Dale is unfortunately not able to be here today. He is in Wisconsin, and he's a great uncle, but he was just unfortunately not able to be here. He still lives in the house that they grew up in as kids in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, right on Lake Michigan. And he can't be here, but he did write a statement that Herb is going to be reading.
Lots of people here. Carl and I became friends in the early 70s back in Wisconsin, friends and running buddies. And amazingly enough, a few years later, we were roommates in San Diego, California, of all places. We did not see that coming. We both married local girls named Sue. And the rest of Carl's life, you're going to hear from his family. But I've been asked to read this letter from Carl's brother, Dale. Growing up together in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, my brother, Carl Brandt, and I were what today would be considered the lower working middle class. But we didn't know it, and were happy and content with who we were. We participated in many activities together along with the other kids from the neighborhood. In the summertime, the main activity would be day-long pickup baseball games. We also played organized Little League. On other days, we would pedal our bikes to various fishing spots in and around the city. We'd go swimming in Lake Michigan, and on special occasions, the mothers in the neighborhood would take us 20 miles to Elkhart Lake to swim in warmer water. Lake Michigan's cold. Some days, we would be driven a couple of miles farther to the Sheboygan County Marsh to fish. Much of the equipment we used, baseball bats, fishing rods, and reels, we purchased from money we had earned. We both delivered newspapers, and during the summer we would catch night crawlers to sell to fishermen who worked with our father at the Kohler Company. We both also had other jobs during high school, and in high school my brother was an honor student who participated in wrestling and tennis. He continued both of these activities in college and also began long-distance running. During the school breaks from college, my brother and I worked temporary jobs at the Kohler Company, and we both were involved in jobs on campus during the school year. It felt natural to work to earn the things we might want. In both high school and college, my brother was a popular person with numerous friends. This trait carried over in his later personal life and business dealings. Our father died in 1999, and our mother died in 2004. And for the last 21 years, the connection between us grew stronger. We were in regular communication, and we talked on a wide range of subjects. My brother was extremely proud of his two sons, Noah and Peter, not only for the people they had become, but also happy that they shared a bond similar to the one that we shared. I know my brother leaves a legacy in the running world and in business, but other people can testify to that. To me, he was just one great guy. Dale Brandt, Carl's brother.
As most of you in this room probably know, my dad could talk on the phone for hours. And there were often times that Uncle Dale would call while my dad and I were having a conversation. And I'm like, Dad, like we're talking. And he'd be like, yeah, here, talk to Uncle Dale. And it would go on for 2, 3, 4 hours. And it's a core memory for me at this point. Now we would like to branch out into the category of what Noah and I lovingly call the parent group. So Susan and Mike Stowe, who are very good friends. They are the parents of some of our childhood friends. And they're going to be giving a speech here as well from the perspective of kind of the parenting. And they are book club members, so big book club.
Parenting is a stretch, but...
Hi everyone. I have a very loud voice, so give me the thumbs down if you need me to talk less loud. We're Susan and Mike Stowe, and we're here today on behalf of the La Mesa Friends Group, a small part of a much larger community of people who loved Carl. We know Carl had close friends all over: Boston, Wisconsin, New York, and everywhere in between. But we're honored to speak for the circle here in La Mesa, where so many of us had the privilege to watch our families grow up together and share a lot of everyday life with Carl. We were honored and frankly a little overwhelmed when Peter and Noah asked us to say a few words today, because how do you sum up someone like Carl, especially on behalf of such a big and diverse group of people? Each of us knew him in our own way, as a fellow parent, a book club buddy, a runner, a neighbor, a camping companion, or the friendly guy at the Move and Shoes, or at the pop-up tent at the high school cross-country meets. It's impossible to speak for everyone and to say everything we'd want to say, but we hope to share a few moments that capture what Carl meant to us. One of the biggest things that stands out about Carl is how connected he was to people, to his community, to his friends and his family. He wasn't just friendly, he kept in touch. There wasn't a single gathering where Carl didn't get at least one phone call from someone waiting to check in, and somehow he always had to take that call and still be fully present with whoever was standing right in front of him. Carl had a way of being fully present with whoever he was with, and maybe that's partly because he was always early, usually 30 minutes at least. But the beautiful thing about that was, if you were hosting or you showed up early too, he was there, ready to help, ready to talk, already laughing. He had this quiet way of making things feel calmer, easier, more grounded just by being himself. We also remember Carl as someone who showed up for the community in quiet, steady ways. His running shoe store wasn't just a business, it was a hub. So many of us, kids and parents alike, went to him just not for gear, but for encouragement, advice, or a friendly face. And at the cross-country meets, his booth was often the first place people stopped because it felt like home base. Carl and Sue and the boys were a fixture on our local traditions. Every Memorial Day, there they were at the top of the hill on our annual camping trip, probably with the best view and definitely with the most laughs. And for many summers, they somehow managed to secure the most beautiful campsite in Yosemite, North Pines Campground, 51. We're not saying Carl bribed a ranger, but we have no idea how that happened. We would call and not get in, and somehow magically, so your dad had connections. After Sue passed away, something we all know left a deep ache in him and all of us. He never stopped showing up. That's when we saw his strength, his vulnerability, and his commitment to life, even when it was hard. And it always felt like a way of honoring her was to stay rooted in the people and the places they both loved. Carl was also in our book club, and he brought his same sense of curiosity and generosity there. He was a voracious reader, and thanks to him, some of us even braved a few Stephen King novels, the non-scary ones. They're out there and they're very good. And he had so many friends who had written their own books. I don't know if anybody's here, but yes, he made us read those books. I have a friend who wrote a book. But most of all, Carl was kind in the most genuine, no-nonsense way. He spoke his mind, but never harshly. He laughed easily, listened deeply, and treated everyone with the same warmth and respect, no matter who they were. It's hard to imagine this community without Carl's presence, but in so many ways, we won't have to. He's there in the campsite at the top of the hill. He's in the call you get at the gathering from someone who couldn't make it. He's in the pages of a book someone recommended. He's in the well-worn running shoes that still have a few miles in them. And he's in Peter and Noah, in their kindness, their humor, their loyalty, and to lifelong friends, their deep connections, the way they've met their partners, and the way they've stepped fully into their own adulthood. The best of Carl lives in you guys, and we know that they know we are all here for you, just as Carl would be here for us. We're going to miss him deeply, but we're so grateful for the time we had and for the chance to honor him today. Thank you.
Thank you to the Stows. Very much appreciate it. Now we're going to be moving on into a bit of the running community. So I'd like to call up Michael from the Humboldt Toads. There he is. Which I'm excited to hear about because I don't know a lot about this, but my dad had a lot of Humboldt Toads shirts and talked about how he loved this community. So I very much appreciate Michael being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Bracken. What many of you may not know, other than the Toads, is that your dad, Carl, was an honorary Humboldt Toad. He was made an honorary Humboldt Toad the night that Matt Futterman released his book with Coach Bob at the Lowy bookstore. Kind, humble, curious. These three words embody our friend, Carl Brandt. My wife, Cosette, my daughter, Chloe, and I are thankful to have been invited today and to be here. Like many in here, my journey with Carl spanned decades. We first met in 1985. After completing my freshman cross-country season, I needed new running shoes. The $60 pair of Nike V Series, from the Vengeance, the Vector, the Vortex, were all the rage. That said, my family had very few financial resources. After cobbling together about $35, I made my way to moving shoes in La Mesa, and Carl helped me. That's how I met him. I was looking over the closeout shoes, remember the ones at the bottom of the wall that were kind of there, pairs? I was hoping I'd find something for $29 plus tax. And I disclosed to Carl my limited budget. Likely no surprise to any of you, he said, "We can work with that." And somehow I exited the store that day with a $60 pair of Nike Vortex for $35. That became our friendship. We kept in touch for over a 40-year period. We sharing stories of college and running and family and most of our life. He treated everyone the same, like a friend, because they were. He did not easily accept compliments, as we know. Most of all, he was a curious person. He always wanted to know how others saw life and what their passions were. As random as it sounds, in 2019, my wife and I were able to secure tickets to a traditional Irish women's singing group known as Celtic Woman, something I'm very interested in. And we asked Carl to join us as our daughter dropped out kind of at the last minute, something about, I don't know, boys, movies, anything but hanging out with your mom and dad while she was in high school. So we took Carl. He seemed to enjoy the concert and exclaimed as we left, "Well, that was interesting." COVID was brutal on all of us, especially a social being like Carl. Unfortunately, at that very same time, my wife began her own cancer battle. Carl took it upon himself to check in with her each and every Thursday. It would start off with a morning text. Is this a chemo day or a radiation day? And to remind her that he had a good thought for her recovery. During COVID, Carl and I would often take time to walk around Lake Murray. By the way, we were getting chased out from time to time, which we just shrugged and complied and went about our time. We talked about Peter and Noah and my daughter Chloe. I learned about Peter's young marriage and his wife's travels through the state park system. And I learned about Noah entering graduate school for the PT program and pursuing his dreams. Peter, Noah, others have said it. your dad was so proud of you too. And he would also talk about Sue. With that, let me make 2 quick final statements. First, to Peter and Noah, thank you for sharing him with all of us. He made our life better. Everyone in here. Finally, when I learned of your dad's passing that morning, I think it was a Sunday morning, the first thing I could do was go out for a run and cry while I was running. And I had a vision. I had a vision of him meeting St. Peter at the gates. And Sue was waiting for him with a hug and a kiss. And Carl saying to St. Peter in his matter-of-fact voice, "This is nice. Where might I find the one you call Pre?" God bless each of you.
Okay, we do have one more person that wanted to speak today, which is the video. This person is Meb Kufleski. Meb could not be here today because of prior engagements, but the relationship that my dad had with Meb was something special. Meb would bring his family and just sit with my dad for hours and hours every time he was in San Diego. And they became really, really close over the years. And I can't thank Meb enough for that relationship that he built. Obviously, he built that with seemingly everybody, but Meb was somebody special in our dad's life. He did send us a video. It's a little low quality, but the audio is what matters. This will be a short video, and we are good to play it, Amy?
All right.
Hey Carl and Brandt.
Yep, I'm gonna try and do my best to make this as loud as possible.
Hey Carl and Brandt. Sorry I can not be there in person with you, but the thought of Carl has been in my mind for many months now and many years. A day would come. But Carl, your genuine kindness and your soft serve make friends everywhere. You are the reason why San Diego flourished in many ways. You were the golden boy of running shoe store who touched not only the miles but the smiles and the legacy of many runners that went through movie shoes and others. You are kind, well-traveled, and people who just want to be next to you because you seize the moment and you enjoy each other's company. So we all felt loved and cared for as you are loved and cared and dearly, dearly missed. Again, sorry I cannot be there in person, but I love you, I care for you, and thank you for leaving the world a better place for us.
So for those of you who do not know who Meb Kufleski is, he is famous in the running world. He is an Olympian, he is a professional long distance runner, is saying it lightly. And we're just very grateful for that friendship that they had. We don't have any more speakers, but we do have something we want to share with you, which is a video of our father. Carl spoke at Noah and Marie's wedding just last year, October, and that's something we want to conclude with this service here today of having that. After the video, I will come back up for some reminders, but please enjoy this video. It is going to bring all of us to tears because it's pretty powerful. Thank you all.
Earned privilege of being that guy's father and his younger sons, his younger brother's father as well. 7 years ago, Peter and Amy's anniversary was yesterday, and I gained a whole new family 7 years ago, and I feel the same about tonight, about gaining a whole new family of the good kind. All the things that Peter said about Noah are true. Exceptional student, exceptional athlete, exceptional person, all of that. I'm just going to read a couple of quotes which I think relate to marriage. To get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. That's Mark Twain happened to say that. And then, partially because, I don't know if Noah and Peter remember, but I think Noah was in 4th grade, Peter in 1st grade, when we went to Boston over spring break. And I forced them to walk around Walden Pond. So this is a quote from Henry David Thoreau. There is no remedy to love, but to love more. I think that finding the right person to love is a true gift. I applaud you two for finding each other, because it is not easy. There's a whole lot of people out there in your way. So you have done well and are exceptional. My parents were married for 58 years before my dad passed away. Sue, my wife's parents, were married, I think, for 53 or 4 years before Nick passed away. So I grew up thinking that this was normal. And maybe it should be. But when my wife passed away, after just 25 years of marriage, it was hard. And there are times when it still is. No one knows how much his mom loved him. I don't know if he knows how much importance she put on when he went to Berkeley, on making sure she stayed alive to watch him graduate. It was probably the most important thing in her life. So that was May of 2012. And 2 months later, she was gone. Long-time marriages are a partnership. So there's this old story about somebody asking a older gentleman who had been married for 55, 60 years, hey, what's the secret? How does this work? And he says, well, this is my wife, and she makes all the small decisions, and I make all the big decisions. And so far, there haven't been any big decisions. So you just got to work it out. And I think that they can both do that. I really wish to express to John and Rebecca and Emily and Jack how wonderfully special the last couple of days have been for me. One, I get to see the Southern Buttes, which I'd never seen before. But I get to meet you as people, and now you are family. I find that incredibly special and wonderful. But yeah, no, talking with John, well, yesterday during the rehearsal here and at the dinner last evening, it's a comfortableness which you would think was built on time spent together. And I had just met the guy. And the comfortableness might exist because he has 2 really good kids. And I have 2 really good kids. So I'm assuming he's a really good guy. And I don't think this is an outrageous assumption. I sort of got talked out last evening because I got asked to talk a little bit there. So I don't have a whole lot else to say. I am going to close again with, in a world where you can be anything, be kind.
Here, here.
That was our dad.
Yeah.
And that is our dad. And our dad lives in all of us. That was our last speaker of today. I do just want to conclude with, again, thanking everybody here, especially thank you to all the people that spoke. We are again here to celebrate a life well lived, a life of positivity, a life of kindness, and this is a celebration. So just a couple of reminders, there's food and drink in the back. The memory cards, please fill out a memory or at least some contact information in lieu of that guest book. Again, there's baskets in the back there where you can drop those off into it. We really appreciate that. Hens are giveaways, and also all of these t-shirts. If you would like one of these t-shirts and it doesn't have a little reserve sign on it, please come up to either Noah or I or Marie, Amy, and let us know. We want to share the wealth, and Moving Shoes is a lifestyle. It is not, it's not done. So please help us and take these shirts. There's also some lanyards and awards. If you want something, have at it. But I do want to just conclude by saying, with this event, we have the place until 5. Take the time to talk to one another. Channel Carl. Talk to one another, have a connection, meet somebody new, catch up with an old friend. And that is what he wanted as his memorial, to just bring all the people that he loved together. And this is not everybody, but please channel that and have conversations with people. We'll never forget the values that our dad taught us. And just as a reminder, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. Thank you all.